Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session. Today is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, 4 p.m., Board Meeting Room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast Chatham, Virginia, 24531. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Ingram?
Here.
Mr. Whittle? Mr. Height?
Here.
Mr. Tucker?
Here. All right. Let's see. Item 3, any items to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Height.
make a motion to add the following closed session item to the agenda as item 8C, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel on the legal authority of Virginia Code, subsection 2.2-3711A8, subject matter solid waste contract, purpose legal counsel contract consultation.
All
I'll
right.
second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dudley, for the second. Movement was second. We will add to the, is that closed session?
Yes.
Closed session, section 8C. Said motion, any discussion? Hearing none, gentlemen, cast your votes. All right, motion passes unanimously. We move to item 4, the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Thank you, Mr. Bowman. All right, it's been moved and second for the approval of the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, please cast your votes. All right, the motion passes 7-0. For citizens' convenience, all work session and committee matters are now being recorded and can be viewed on the county's Facebook and the same YouTube location as the Board of Supervisors business meetings. Please remember that the board's work session is designed for internal board and county staff communication, discussion, and work. It is not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained. Respectfully, any outbursts or disorderly conduct from the audience will not be tolerated and may result in the offending person's removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens and other appropriate parties as designated by the board's bylaws are permitted to make comments under the hearing of the citizens section of tonight's business meetings. All right, we move down to item 5A, year-end funding requests. Mr. Michael Delantis, am I saying that correctly? Don't want to butcher your name. Delantis.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Scott Spillman. I'm the health director for the Pittsylvania County Health Department as part of the Pennsylvania Danville Health District, as well as the Southside Health District, which includes Halifax, Mecklenburg, and Brunswick. So you can see we have a little area to cover. Mike Dolinides is our business manager C, who is our top business manager and is second in command to me. I want to thank all of you for having us here today and hearing us. I also want to let you know that now that COVID is a little bit on the downslope, there's a little bit of a pattern, a seasonal pattern, but we do plan on getting around periodically to come and just talk as friends about what's going on with us and not always just talk about money and things. So I value very much the relationship we have with you. Thank you for the support that we've gotten in all these years, and we take our responsibility to the community very seriously. We also value the resources that both the locality here and the state together provide for us. And we know that it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money. And we strive to be very conscious conscientious in a fiduciary sense, and to have every dollar stretch as far as it'll go. In fact, at my home, I make Lincoln's head squeeze sometime and scream. So I pinch pennies. So I understand that. And what we're going to talk about today is something that is sort of an aftermath of our recent fiscal year and how we try to judge everything, get everything together, and make it run out exactly on the fiscal year. But sometimes things happen that prevent our finances, both inflow and outflow, as well as staffing, from being exactly to the 0 point. So I'm going to introduce Mike Dolianides now and turn it over to him because he's the one who does the real work. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for having us. My name is Mike Dolianides with the Virginia Department of Health. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. We had in the year-end 2025 year-end settlement statements a carryover amount of $19,377, which we are asking to carry over and retain for services to be provided to the community. Also, within those funds, we're looking to pay for some telecom bills and some information technology statements that did not come in time for 2025 to be paid, but will have to be paid in 2026. As well, we're looking for 2026 unmatched funding from the state of Virginia of $17,722. In current local funds, the agency would like to retain the funding to backfill current clerical positions in order to provide services in the Pennsylvania County Health District. So that's a total of $37,100 to provide health services to the community, primarily through staffing, which we had carryover or turnover vacancies, which we were not able to spend the funds for. And we're looking to go ahead and make sure that we can provide services going forward. We are very low staffed in Pennsylvania County right now. We have one person that is out. We have one person that is getting ready to retire. And very unfortunately, we had a person who passed away not weeks ago. So we are in desperate need of providing staffing services on the clerical front. These individuals will sign people in. They will do projects. They will do the digitization as we get off of paper and get into an electronic world so that we can service customers faster. So we ask for your ability to carry over these targeted amounts. And if we have any questions, I'll be happy to take them at this time.
All right. Any questions from the board? Yes, sir. Mr. Dudley.
Somebody else have one?
Mr. Bowman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for coming and making the presentation. I just have one, just for clarification. So the funds you're asking for to be carried over are going to be applied to new or positions only? Is that what you're looking for?
Positions is going to be most of the funds, clerical positions on the contractor front, in order to get the new hires hired and trained, but also to pay for a couple of information technology bills that did not get billed out during the year 2025 that we have to pay for now. That total amount is $12,900, and the rest of it will go toward contract staffing while we are indeed searching for people. And we did have the job posted very recently. The posting has now come down. We have interviews scheduled for the beginning of October, so we'll be back in town for that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dudley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you guys for coming this afternoon. You spoke of positions. Was that not in your original budget for the year? These things that you needed for, was that in your budget for the year?
Yes, sir, it was.
It was. So where is the money that was supposed to go to that if you're asking for the extra money? You see what I'm saying?
Those funds expired at the end of 2025, so we're needing to spend them now in this current fiscal year. So we are asking to be able to do that, to retain those funds on a carryover basis.
That's all I got, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Any other questions? Gentlemen, yes, sir.
May I just add a couple things? I will thank you for your questions. the telecom, the VITA bills, VITA, the Virginia Information Technology, they were months and months and months behind. We didn't get them until after the closing of the ability to pay for the fiscal year. So those types of things. And yes, we do pay for folks. We're behind, far behind on what we're having to do, getting ready for changing over to complete digitization from the old, what I would call rock and chisel manual. And I've done my share of writing manually in a chart over the years. And it's, we're on a schedule that is required of us to get everything purged and ready for this, or else we'll be in deep dirt. And we needed to get this going. We're trying to do this the best, most efficient way. And in the past, I know we've come to you and said we're going to buy vaccine. We do buy vaccine, but we want to make sure we don't just buy a vaccine with extra funds. We have a lot of things that help us get ready to make the engine run properly, and the clerical area is an essential part of getting our operation. When you first walk in, that's who you see generates right now a lot of paperwork, and we're trying to minimize that. And I've been through a lot of different organizations over the years that have gone from full paper to full digitalization, and it is as you might already be aware, pretty time consuming and resource constrained. With the 3 people out, we are continuing to try to hire somebody, but I will tell you that it is difficult to get the people we want that can do the jobs that we need to do. I recently had a nurse practitioner nurse practitioner senior position open for 2 months, and we had one candidate. We interviewed the candidate, and unfortunately, she did not meet the qualifications. It was unfortunate. On paper, it was one way, and in the interview, it was another. That's the kind of thing, but that took several months, and there's a lot that has to go through with going up to Richmond to get this approved. So we continue to try to make sure we've got things ready. But in the meantime, getting a contract person in to help us catch up is essential for us to do the things that we need to do for that health department and for the citizens. So thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have some questions, but I guess I'm going to ask Ms. Vanderhat. I hate to put you on the spot. Would you come up, please? Because these are going to be a little more poignant to the Finance Committee. My being the chairman of the Finance Committee, these funds that are being carried over in the tune of like $19,000, that money's supposed to go back to the general fund, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I will mention that hearing what they have to say today is different than what we've heard in the past. A $12,000 bill that they did not get is not their fault that they didn't get a $12,000 bill that should have been paid out of that money. Understand? So,
I understand.
like if it had been there, they would have paid it and they wouldn't have returned $19,000. But yes, that you are correct. That money currently sits at the health department,
That's
and
right.
they would return it to us, and it would go back to the general fund of the
That's
county.
correct.
Yep. You're on the right track, and that's why I call you up here, because I heard the $12,000 figure. How much of that $12,000, had we known up front, had they received the bill, would we have basically used out of those funds, the entire $12,000, or is that some type of matching
Well,
agreement?
that would have been a bill that went to the health department,
Gotcha.
and so they would have just paid the bill, and then your carryover amount would have only been $7,000.
$7,000. Okay.
So, and that amount, he would have come and he's requesting that to be used for contract services to kind of help them get on their feet from, not having these employees to do that work.
Listen, I understand, and, that issue is pervasive. Everyone is having problems right now, not only attracting the right people, but also being able to hire individuals. But let me ask you my last question. Going forward, let's say, for example, we give them the 12,000, okay? The other 7,000, if there arises a contingency, I think we can do that on a case-by-case basis based on the way we've budgeted. Is that my understanding?
If you all choose to do that and the money comes back to the general fund,
I get that.
and they came back to you and said, we just can't make it if we have to have this, and they wanted to make another pitch, and you all decided, well, maybe we should have given them that money, you would just have to reappropriate it for us to give it to them.
Correct, because it's not earmarked, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you, Ms. Vanderhyde. You've answered my question.
And then as far as the new money, every year they estimate what they will receive from the state, and it is our responsibility to pay our share
That's right.
of what
Right.
they think they'll get.
Yeah.
And they did an excellent job of getting that as close as possible.
Okay.
So they're just asking to retain that unmatched piece. So basically, they thought they would get a little bit more from the state, so that's why that money's there. It's a little bit different animal.
Right.
So you may, and usually what happens is they just don't request that amount from us. So that will remain in the budget unspent for us in the general fund budget.
Let me, I know I've got a question or a comment here, but let me kind of give you my view of where I am right now. And I understand things will crop up, unforeseen hiccups that you didn't really plan for. The 12,000, I think, in all fairness, we would have, allowed that, or that would have automatically come out of those funds that we had earmarked or appropriated. The $7,000, I'm really not a fan of giving that back to you, because that money rightfully goes back to the general fund. And then if there is a need that arises, you all are welcome to come back to the board. I think is going to be where I'm going to land. Who had the question?
I've already asked mine, so, yes, sir.
Questions, gentlemen, comments? I think you had something, your hand up, sir.
Yes. One thing, these are cooperative funds, so, there's also state money at stake. If we don't get from the locality, we also don't get from the state. And so it rolls up a little bit higher, usually in about a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you take that, it goes up. So that's that, looking at the total, instead of maybe 7, it could be closer to 20, 21 or something like that we wouldn't get, which would certainly be a force multiplier for some of our activities, just to help clarify the situation. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think it's probably in the best interest of the board that we postpone a decision, and we have Ms. Vanderhyde and her team kind of do a little digging, peel that
Yeah.
onion back a little bit,
That's a
and
good
give us a
idea.
little guidance on that, because I'm picking up what you're putting down, as far as, the matching funds, that sort of thing. But, I guess to sum it up, we have to be good stewards of the citizens' money. So I would prefer that our team does a little bit of investigation prior to making a decision. Okay.
Thank you very much for hearing us today. Appreciate the questions. If I was in your shoes, I'd ask questions
Yeah.
too. But understand that, again, we take things very seriously, and we put the money to good use, and we make Lincoln's head squeeze.
Yes, sir, and I respect that, and I don't want you in any way, shape, or form thinking that there's any impropriety, with the funds or anything like that. We just have limited resources as a county. Mr. Dudley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You guys still share the building, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
You and DSS work together pretty good?
I think for the most part.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I got a
Yes, sir.
question. Yeah, so you're saying if we take the $7,000 back, the state takes back what?
But I don't know the exact percentage that it is today, because there have been some things changed in last year, but it's been usually a 2-to-1 ratio. So usually if in the past, in most, across the board, it's been kind of, if you take 7, we lose also 14 from the state. So it rolls up to about 2021, somewhere in that area. I don't have the exact figure in my head.
That's fine, I heard you say it, but
Ballpark.
I didn't quite grasp it, okay? So,
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whittle.
Sorry.
And that's what I wanted, some clarity, because the question begs to be asked, okay? If you did not get the surprise bill that came in late or whatever the case was, and you have $19,000 in total to roll over, I mean, where are we now? Are we looking, the state's going to penalize you? And that's kind of, the confusion in my mind.
Well, everything gets tighter, right?
Yeah.
And with the outflow of COVID monies, and things have gotten very tight. And so we, had we been able to hire the folks we wanted at the time and could have gotten farther along with some of our activities, then that monies would have also been worked down as well. So that's why we're just trying to get caught up on things and do the job that we need to do. So thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, appreciate it.
All right, but what's your pleasure here?
Let's get Kim to bring some information back. Let her dig into it. How about that? Or do y'all want to do something now?
I'm just asking the board, generally, what's the consensus? My
I'd give them
recommend,
7,000.
sir?
I'd give it to them, and that way they have 14,000 more to work with at the same time.
What's he saying? Pay the bills.
Speaking to the mic, Ms. Whittle.
I didn't want you to give.
Ms. Whittle is saying, give them the 7,000 and they will have more to work with.
They would have 14,000 to work with more than just the 7,000, what they just said.
I think I want staff to kind of peel this onion back a little bit and not just pull the trigger tonight. We have time.
Yep.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's good. Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
All right. All right, we move to item number 6 on our agenda. That's Ms. Vanderhyde. That's capital improvements FY 2026.
Yes, so probably in your board packet, you have all this information, and it has lots of notes on it, lots of information, but the numbers are very tiny. And I know how sometimes I struggle with tiny numbers, and so I wanted to make sure that you all had a larger copy as I go through the presentation. It will be on the screen, and it's very high-level overview. Anything that you have question about, please ask, and we'll go over it a little bit deeper. I'm going to get my notes because I have them open.
Yeah, no worries.
So in your budget resolution that you all pass every year, one of the items in that resolution states that you all will receive a capital improvements report. And so this is the report that you're being given because those funds automatically roll over to the following year until a project is complete. If a project is complete and we reutilize those funds in the capital improvements fund to a different project, you all have to be aware of it and give your blessing on it. So that is why each year, along about this time, you're going to get a report that tells you where you stand as far as capital is concerned. So we have, wrong button, what am I doing wrong? Here we go. Got it. So in this report, we have 3 funds that have capital items in them. The first fund is Fund 310, and that is your capital improvements fund, and that's for all capital other than water and sewer and solid waste. Water and sewer is contained in their own fund in the water and sewer fund, and 520 is in the solid waste enterprise fund. So we'll start with Fund 310. We have a list here of capital improvements by category. Our computer capital outlay items are totaling $123,689.05. These are for projects that are carrying over for the year. There are no new funds in that particular category. Building and grounds capital outlay is pretty steep at $1,512,439.65. All of those funds are also carryover funds, most of which you all approved about, I would say, close to $600,000 that we approved at the end of FY25, $500,000 for building and grounds, partly for maintenance and part for roof at the Human Services building. You all have approved that contract for the Human Services building. That was a little bit more. Yes.
So Kim, what you're showing us there is actually
It's
larger of this one
correct.
that you gave us here. Okay,
Correct.
so any details are located in this one?
Right. So
Gotcha.
thank you, Mr. Bowman, because that will help you. This is a detailed list of what is found in those specific categories. So as we move on, fire and rescue capital, you'll notice this year we broke those into 2 segments. We have the career side of fire and rescue, and we also have the volunteer side. For fire and rescue capital for career, there's a total of $636,323.34. We placed new funds of $121,500 of that, and then the remaining $514,823.34 are carryover funds, most of which are for a new career ambulance. Fire and rescue capital volunteer, that total is at $1,956,460.06. There's new money of $1,127,500 and carryover funds of $828,960.06. Community development, that is a pretty large number, most of which is for the broadband project that will be finalized in December. We had a $4.1 million additional local amount that we needed to include to help pay off that final payment. So in this, we have carryover funds of $3,837,098.59, and we used project fund money from your debt service category to be moved over of $2,681,508. Then we borrowed money this year. In August, we closed on those bonds. During the budget process, we were not really sure how much we were going to borrow, how we were going to borrow it, and so the 2 items that we definitely knew we were borrowing money for was CAD replacement as well as radio upgrade. Well, the CAD replacement it fell through. So you'll notice on your report, I've kind of shuffled that money to what we actually borrowed money for. So we ended up doing HVAC for our courthouse. We borrowed money for the Moses building renovations. We borrowed money for the old Pass building for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And then we did do the radio upgrade. So you will see that come back to you all. We will have a public hearing next month. We'll go over that later in the presentation. Parks and Recreation was $73,135.50. $15,000 of this money is new money, and the remainder, which is roughly $58,000, is carryover funds. So these are the monies that we will utilize to pay the updated amount for the recreation agreement that we have with the school system. So total amount in our 310 fund is $14,083,653.08. This next slide shows a recap of exactly all of your funding sources, and I did go over those when I went through each of the categories. But your general fund contribution for the year for 310 is $1,264,000. Of course, your project fund, carryover funds, and the lease revenue funds are listed out there. But just so you know, your general fund contribution this year was $1.2 million. But all of those total the $14,083,653.08. Then we'll move on. Does anybody have any questions about any of the 310 capital items? So moving on to Fund 501, this is the Water and Sewer Capital Fund. There are two main categories that we have of capital for them, and that's water capital outlay, and that's at $2,339,184.03. And in this particular category, we do have some grant funds. We have an EDA grant of $356,864. We have a Virginia Department of Health grant for Robin Court of $905,000 and carryover monies of $811,495.83, making up that total $2.3 million. Then your sewer capital outlay is at $2.7 million roughly, and that has the majority of that EDA grant. That EDA grant was a total of $2.4 million, and we are now just finishing up the engineering, and we cannot draw any of that grant money until we have gone under construction. And right now, those prices are way more than we have grant money to cover. So we are going back to the granting agency to see if we can get some more additional funding before that can start. But they were for critical water infrastructure needs as well as sewer, but mostly sewer needs. We put new money of $54,290. And when I say new money is money that is received in the water and sewer fund from revenue that they receive. This is not a general fund contribution. Then you have carryover funds of $635,433.28. And then I've got that breakdown for you so you can see it. And that totals $5,072,053.11. Any questions on your water and sewer?
I do. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So of these projects that are identified on this sheet here, the money actually went into effect on the 1st of July this fiscal year. Have any of these been put out for bid yet?
I know the EDA one was, and it came in way over what was anticipated. I'm not sure what that exact figure was, but
Okay.
we won't start anything until we can get it either more funding or get our prices in a better position to be able to start on those projects.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Moving on to a Fund 520, and that's your solid waste capital fund. Solid waste is broken into two categories primarily. The third one is your leased revenue bonds that we borrowed in 2021. But solid waste capital outlay is $1,125,350.19. $230,000 is new money, and that is for a new roll-off truck. We get a new roll-off truck each year. The remainder of that money is carryover money. Then the next category is landfill capital outlay. That's primarily for things at your landfill, is $1,035,694.06. New money of $118,000, and the remainder is carryover at $917,000. And then our lease revenue bonds, we have $478,000 remaining of those lease revenue bonds, some of which can only be used at our landfill. Most of that money is for convenience sites, for upgrades at your convenience sites. And so those are still available. So the total is $2,639,395.69. And I know we discussed balances. The balance in that fund at June 30 was a little over $3 million. So $2.6 million of that is earmarked for capital. It's not like free money, so it's only like about $1 million in there that's not earmarked. But had that figure been less than $2.6 million, this could not happen. You don't have carryover if you don't have carryover. So that's the only reason that I would be coming with a different conversation if that was the case. So any questions on Fund 520?
I'm good. Gentlemen?
All right, the last item I wanted to discuss was your VRA loan. We did close on that loan August the 6th. We borrowed a total of $7,009,143.35. We have appropriated in the 26 budget $3,251,731, and so we still need to appropriate $3,754,412.35. Since it exceeds 1% of your budget, we can't just include it. We have to have a public hearing. And so we will hold that public hearing at your October board meeting, and that should take care of getting everything in the proper places. This last slide that I'll share with you, we have already made one draw on that money. So of the $7 million, our first draw was for $2,039,009.11. Most of which was for the Moses building. We still have a few more renovations to do at the Moses building. And then paths, we were able to get about $456,000, and then we paid our closing fees. So it won't take us long. We do have someone that is scheduled to start on our HVAC. So at least we have the ball rolling on that, as well as the radio upgrade. I think you all have already approved that to get started as well. So we're going to be moving and doing some critical things that we need to do to our buildings to get done. So I think once we do that last appropriation, we will be good as far as major appropriations until later on in the year. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Van der Haat. We appreciate that, and we plan to get started work on this budget process a little earlier this year because we have some challenges ahead of us. All right. Thank you so much. All right, moving to 8B. Let's see, business personal property refund explanation. Our commissioner, Ms. Gore, the Honorable Ms. Gore, come on up. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good afternoon.
6B.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Circle K is one of the businesses located in the county, and they've filed their business personal property reporting form as required by February 15th of this year. Okay, then they contacted the office later stating that in their filing they had duplicated a lot of their equipment due to a computer glitch that they had. Basically what happened is they said the computer, each item that they own has a number assigned to it. So for some reason, the computer went in and added a 0 to the end of a lot of those items, the number. And so it caused a duplication in what they reported to the county. And this generated a refund because they paid the entire 2025 bill before June the 5th, June the 10th. In the letter that my office submitted for the refund, I did find that my deputy that typed the letter had made an error. She inadvertently reversed the numbers. So I'm not sure, I gave Mr. Shorter,
I have.
oh, you have one, okay, a revised copy to show that the actual refund amount is not $18,811.80, that's what they should have paid, but the refund is actually $20,749.50. So according to state code, we do have to request that the board gives the treasurer permission to refund these funds to the business. And that's why I'm here
Good.
today.
Thank you, Ms. Gore. Any questions from the board?
What, I'm sorry,
Yes,
what was
sir.
that
Yes, sir,
total
Ms.
again,
Bowman.
refund? It was not 18, it was 20.
I have it
It's
here.
$20,749.50. She had inadvertently put that as the amount that they paid, or should have paid. So the two numbers were reversed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Any other questions? All right. I have the letter here, and, it's tough to give money back when you have it in your coffers, right? But we have to follow the law. So that being said, Mr. Evans, do we need to add this to our agenda during our business meeting?
Yes. Or is it already been added?
It is. It's
Yes.
already on there for the night
So-
meeting, and what we'll do is we'll just clarify that number.
Yeah, we have to
Correct,
change
yes.
that number.
I think that was anticipated.
Okay, and I'm going to pass this on to our county clerk so that she gets everything correct. All right, Ms. Gort, thank you so much, and thank you for being
You're
here this
welcome.
evening.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, moving on to item 6C, property maintenance discussion. Mr. Evans, and thank you, sir, for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, members. The intention of this item on the agenda is to begin a conversation about property maintenance in the county, to discuss where we currently are as it relates to some of our local ordinances and what the options are moving forward in both enforcement and potentially modifying the current ordinances to affect the condition of properties throughout the county. Property maintenance is managed by statute in, I guess, three main areas. The first is spot blight and derelict buildings. The second is garbage and refuse generally. And the third is vegetation, specifically grass and weeds. The current county code has provisions that address two of those matters. The first is the dangerous building code section, which is section 423. It states it's the responsibility of a property owner to maintain its structures and walls, etc., in a condition that is compliant with the code. That the code official can designate structures as dangerous, and once that designation is made, then the property owner has to either make that structure safe and in compliance with the building code, or vacate and secure the structure against public entry, or that the structure has to be taken down or removed, as determined by the code official. If no efforts are made by the property owner, the county can take its own funds that are set aside to repair, secure, or demolish the structure. Those costs we can recoup from the property owners through tax-like liens. Enforcement, because it's driven by code officials, falls under the community development. There is several ongoing matters that fit this type of enforcement that are going right now. There are, because it's landowner driven, there's some additional notices that have to be provided. But I can affirm that I've worked through with Mr. Arnold, the interim community development director, on some of these matters, and we've had a discussion about how we want to proceed with those. And I believe the code as it stands is sufficient for us to be able to ensure that those type of spot blight, derelict building matters are addressed within the county. The second area is the disposal of waste, solid waste specifically, including garbage and rubbish. The code, both state code and local code, targets two different portions of that solid waste. One is the litterers themselves, so individuals that are disposing of or dropping trash throughout the county. That's a lot harder to enforce because you have to actually identify the individual who is dropping the unwanted refuse. The second focuses on property owners. This is in Pennsylvania County Code Section 17.6, and it states it shall be unlawful for the owner or the occupant of any real property to allow solid waste to remain upon the property more than 30 days after the owner or occupant knew or reasonably should have known of the presence of the solid waste. There's a discussion about the presumptions that they were the ones that did it if they own the property, as well as there is a assumption that they should have known if it's easily visible from public roadways. There's penalties that are set forth in the state code that essentially consist of a $50 fine for each instance within a set of circumstances. So it would essentially equate to a $50 daily fine for the first entire set of circumstances, not to exceed $3,000 over a 12-month period. So if somebody this is the first time that we've interacted with them and they have solid waste that is just on their property, they can be provided notice once they know that that is there and they have not removed that or taken care of it within 30 days, then there's a $50 a day fine that can be assessed. If it's a subsequent set of circumstances, new trash, new instance, with the same property and property owner, then that fine can be escalated up to $200 a day. Still not to exceed the $3,000 within a 12-month period for each set of circumstances. Those fines are enforceable in the same way as the other fines in a tax-like lien that can be attached to the property. Now, the last area, vegetation, specifically grass and weeds, the county, to my knowledge, has no current code for that type of enforcement. You regularly see that in higher density areas. In fact, the Code of Virginia anticipates higher population density areas to be able to have those ordinances in place. In counties that have population density less than 500 per square foot, or per square mile, sorry, then the code limits the type of ordinances that you can put in place. So Pennsylvania County falls within that. We're in the 60s. But an ordinance regarding grass and weeds is only in force in a county with lower density, within boundaries of platted subdivisions, or zoned areas for residential, business, commercial, and industrial use. So other zoned areas, you would not be able to pass an ordinance to regulate grass and weed growth in those areas. You would also not be able to pass an ordinance that would be applicable to any area specifically zoned for cultural uses or in use as an agricultural use. So if there is a piece of property, despite its zoning, that's being appropriately used for agricultural uses, then an ordinance could not be passed locally to manage weed and grass growth in those type of areas. So that's just a general overview both of some of the applications of the zones of the code that we have regarding property maintenance, as well as an idea of where we could go if grass and weed ordinance was something the board would like to consider. If you have any questions, I'm free to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Questions?
I don't have anything.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Matt, let me go back to the beginning where you talked about dilapidated buildings and structures.
Yes, sir.
So, I currently have some in my district. They've been that way for quite a while. Actually, one of them was on fire. It is a hazard. It's been sitting there for a few years now. Evidently, we can't find an owner to that piece of property. So where do we go from here?
So the lack of ownership or the lack of established individuals who we can provide notice to is a barrier sometimes. The way that the ordinances are structured, we can get around that. It's not a permanent ban. You have to track down last known addresses, and there's notice that has to be provided by publication as well. So it can be done. It sometimes creates some additional steps along the way. And I will disclose, I've spoken with Mr. Arnold, who started some of these conversations with me and saying, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to do this. He's obviously not historically been involved in some of the direct enforcement of these. And the goal is to try to create expectations and a regular cadence of how the county responds to these specific blights, these specific instances. And so this conversation is part of that process of saying, hey, we're going to be looking at these maybe differently than they were looked at in the past, with an intent of making sure that our county does not have these issues, these persistent issues, especially long-term.
Okay. Good. Thank you for that. So, and that's not the only one. I mean, there are a number. There are some.
Correct.
There are some mobile homes that are sitting that are unoccupied. They're bowed in the center. You know, nobody's been in there in a long time. The windows are out and weeds are everywhere on those pieces of property. I wouldn't mind so much if it was not visible from the road, but these are places that you can see from the road, and sometimes people that unfortunately they don't have a place to go, they end up moving into these buildings, and they set up a little place, so they can stay there at night, and then they're out on the street during the day. So I'd like to look a little bit more into that, on how we can enforce this, and what it would take to do that. Second thing is on the disposal of waste. Give me an example of waste on a property, because is a vehicle sitting in a driveway up on blocks, is that considered waste if it just sits there?
So it would not be considered waste. Usually code addresses those separately. So a vehicle that's unregistered or is inoperable, those would be addressed separately. It would not fall under waste. So it's interpreted pretty broadly.
So do we?
But there's some latitude with local enforcement.
So again, do we need to fine tune these ordinances that we already have on the book and put more teeth into it, or do we just say, well, somebody complains, and then if the person that is has the issue here corrects it, that's fine. But if they don't, they continue not to do anything, we don't have any recourse. Is that correct?
So the recourse would be the fines. That's the recourse, and those fines then could be attached to property, and if they remain unpaid, and then the property could be sold to recoup those fees. And so it can be quite prejudicial over time.
All right, so my last question, and I'm okay with this grass and weeds thing. When was the last time a fine was issued to anybody?
For grass and weeds?
No, for any of the above.
I'm not actually certain what historically how it's been applied. It is difficult as a local government. The intention is to create a response from the individual. And so because of that, there is often a delay in pushing for more aggressive responses because we want to be the type of individuals that work with people, that respond in ways, if somebody says, I'm working on it, I'm getting it done, that we don't then just go sell their property out from under them because there's a fine that has been imposed. That does tend to create delays. That creates delays on the front side before we send official notices. It creates delays after we send official notices. You've got 30 days to clean it up. Maybe it's 45 days and you've started to clean it up. And it creates delays on the filing of court matters or issuing fines generally, or if and when appropriate, moving things to the Commonwealth Attorney for criminal charges. It creates delays at each stage because the locality should be amenable to individuals working through things. And so, but there has to be some type of standard. There has to be some type of predictability from the population, or there's no incentive ever to make a change. There's no incentive to ever do anything if there's no enforcement. So, and that's, I guess, the base of discussion that Mr. Arnold has had with me is we need to start somewhere and do something to get the needle moving a little bit.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir. Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Yes, sir. Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir, and I think Mr. Ingram and I, we were speaking at the same time, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we had cameras and still have them there, correct? Do we have somebody watching them at these sites? And the reason I'm asking is this. If there's something that's been set out, and it's a nice piece, maybe somebody from Holly Hills set out something that's better than what I've got. To me, me grabbing it and taking it to the house, we need to do, I mean, that, fining me $50 for less time on the landfill.
So, I think the discussion of this,
You see what I'm saying?
yes, Mr. Dudley. I think the discussion regarding the convenience sites is a separate issue.
Yeah. Because I'm a dumpster dive, I'm just telling you.
So
I'll do it in a second.
I'll advise you as counsel not to
And I ain't ashamed. Yeah.
discuss that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the discussion here is regarding private property, privately owned.
Okay.
This is outside of the convenience
Yes.
site and the interaction with the disposal that's happening there.
Yeah, I've got one of those also on one of the roads, and we have to, through the years that I've been here, we've had to send them letters. They get it cleaned up, 6 months from now, they do it again. So,
Correct.
I can't control it. So.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very obvious we have to have an extended conversation on this because, as it's been said many times, you cannot regulate morality or cleanliness. And there's some people that live like absolute pigs. There's no nice way of saying it. And thank you for entertaining my questions prior to this meeting. But just hypothetically, we have an ordinance about dog control areas. It's not necessarily because the dog is vicious, but it's a nuisance. And I looked up public nuisance, and it doesn't statutorily fit this criteria. But would it be such a wild idea to maybe look at the possibility of having the residents within that specific community petition us to designate, some kind of extended ordinance, if you will, sort of like the dog control area, to make these folks clean up their property?
Mm-hmm.
It is personal, I think, for all of us, but one in particular, one of my appointees on a board has a house directly across from her house, and it's dilapidated, and that's another question I have. What's the difference between dilapidated and abandoned? But the owner lives in Greensboro, and it's being entertained by wildlife. A fox or something went in there and had a bunch of baby foxes. And the grass is, up to your waist, and it's just not livable. Nobody lives there. That's one example. And then there's another where both my pastor and my vet has to drive by two houses, and I've taken pictures, and
It's beyond disgusting with the amount of garbage that these people accumulate. And it's not necessarily old, broken down lawnmowers or cars, it's garbage. And so that brings to mind the health consideration. So I do know we'll have to have an extended conversation on this, and we're running out of time, but I did want to ask statutorily the difference between abandoned and dilapidated, because to me, when you get to the dilapidated side, it truly becomes a health issue. And
Yes.
you always think about young boys and how we used to, venture around and go places we shouldn't go. And I remember falling through a floor one time, but that's a long time ago. The
Heck
statute
yeah,
of
I
limitations
can
is
get 'em
well past. But anyway,
Yes, sir.
give us your best suggestion on how we can
Yes, sir.
approach this.
So-
Again, I know we're going to have some more conversations, Mr. Arnold.
Yes, I
And,
believe
look
that.
forward to that.
I think we're looking at using this as a starting point
Yeah.
to say, okay, how is this going? What are we doing? What are we seeing as in the process of enforcement? How we may need to adjust things over time with the code we already have that we're trying to apply, and then what can we add to it? The question regarding how you categorize the structures that need to be addressed, our current code is that you then look at the code compliance. So if a building is out of compliance, and that can be because they didn't get a permit, then it's out of compliance and it is deemed a dangerous structure. And so they have to then remedy whatever the code official says needs to be remedied. And the code official gets to then determine what lengths they have to go to remedy that. And it could be to then take down the property. So it's not a categorical input of this is abandoned, this is dilapidated. It's a dangerous structure, and then the remedy would then be set forth after the fact to say, now this is determined to be a dangerous structure. We are telling you this is the remedy that we need in order to make it compliant with the code.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I got a
Mr.
question,
Whittle.
Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At one time, I had a house right across the street from me, and I didn't think, is there anything written now that says that you can have that house condemned or anything? Not that it's there anymore, but that at the time it was built, they finally come in and cut the power off of it, you know what I'm saying? And the guy moved out, you know what I'm saying, but,
If I heard you correctly, I think yes, there's a process that you go through in order to get the code official involved, and then the code official then makes a determination regarding the status of that structure.
never could find anybody to take care of that back in the day, so, you know, but it's
Correct,
taken care of now. So,
Just
Yes, sir.
one more thing, just by way of being creative, and I think we've used that word several times, is there was a case not that long ago to where the taxes were not paid. And so that was a somewhat of a long drawn-out process. But based on that, the property was awarded to the county and then was cleaned up, disposed of. So speaking of creative, I do always recommend look there
Right.
first.
Yeah, the lien process for taxes is the back end. It's the backstop on all of these processes, and it always works. I mean, it's rarely you do not recoup your costs on the sale.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Evans. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
my only comment is this, and it's kind of in response to what I heard from Mr. Bowman in terms of, writing new ordinances and new policy. My thing is, we have to figure out how to enforce the ones we already have on the books before we start writing more policy and all of that, more ordinances. And also, I would like, just a suggestion, and this may be from Mr. Arnold and staff, I would like to take a look at other localities about the same size as Pittsylvania County that are rural, and let's see if we can kind of glean some good ideas from, neighboring counties, that sort of thing. And then we know we're getting ready to talk about the comprehensive plan, that sort of thing. So I'd certainly want to hear from them to see what best practices are in other counties our size.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank everyone for their patience. This brings us down to item 7, business meeting discussion. Any? If not, we're going to item 8, closed session. Mr. Evans?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 matters designated for closed session this evening. The first is a discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms and the scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Legal authority, Virginia Code 2.2-3711A29. Subject matter, comprehensive plan update project, purpose, contract negotiation, discussion of terms. The second item is discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made, or the businesses or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. Legal authority, Virginia Code, Section 2.2-3711A5, subject matter, unannounced prospective business, industries, purpose, general economic development projects update. And the third matter is consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring provision of legal advice by such counsel. Legal authority, Virginia Code, Section 2.2-3711A8, subject matter, solid waste contract, purpose, legal counsel, contract, consultation. Mr. Chairman, it'd now be appropriate to entertain a motion, second, discussion, and vote regarding closed session.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain that motion to go into closed.
So move, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Second
Ingram.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Whittle. All right, any discussion? If not, cast your votes. I saw his lips moving.
All right, Mr. Ingram
I hit mine. So the answer is yes.
and Mr. Whittle.
Yep. It acted like it took it, though.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. We will